Where's the lying news agency of Nigeria? Are they here? Those liars and deceivers, are they here? That distort the news. You don't know what law is. You don't know what justice is. Where's the news agency of Nigeria? Where are they? You don't know that God is a God of justice. You don't know that? That God in heaven is a God of justice. You don't know that?
On Nnamdi Kanu's case, Mr. Oshoma, Nnamdi Kanu is saying there is no charge against him. He's refused to open any defense. Given the fact that the court has already overruled the no case submission and directed him to respond, how strong is his no charge argument at this stage? At this stage, does it carry realistic weight now?
Yeah, like I said last week, thank you, Nifemi. When Nnamdi Kanu attempted or opted to defend himself, I knew that he was certainly going to run into this kind of problems. Even for a lawyer, even though you have a right to defend yourself in a criminal matter, it is always advisable, even as a lawyer, for you to allow a colleague defend you. And considering the allegation against Nnamdi Kanu, I do not think it was advisable for him to have elected to defend himself. The first thing was he came to say he wants to call governors and politically exposed people as witnesses. And then today he said he has read through the charge and that there was nothing against him. And remember, the last time when the matter first came up and he was asked to defend himself, he said that he's objecting to the jurisdiction of the courts. And the court informed him that that stage had passed. That had been argued and dealt with. So he can't bring up the issue of jurisdiction again. And then he now also brought the issue of no case submission. The no case submission that had been argued by his lawyer and that the court ruled on. And now he's saying that he cannot open a defense because he has there is no charge against him. What that means, the implication of that legally is that he is resting his case on the case of the prosecutor. And that is dangerous for him. That's why the judge had to look back a little bit, hold back a little bit to say, you know what, I'll give you time to go and consult legal expert on this. And after consultation, if you still insist, then for fair hearing, I would want you to write it down. Write it down and give it to the prosecutor. So that becomes, it is not just words uttered because they can be denied. It now becomes a documentary evidence against you when judgment is eventually delivered. I did say the last time that the judge might foreclose his defense if he goes on like this, because defense is not an open-ended opportunity. There's a time for you to open a defense, and if that time given to you lapse and they are given a subsequent opportunity, and then most especially you now say that you have elected not to defend yourself.
Mr. Shoma,
because
the court now has given him a deadline, November 4 to 6, and it's also warned that written addresses will be taken if he doesn't act. What exactly happens next procedurally? What should we be watching for in the coming days? What are the most likely outcomes? Are we expected to see the trial now head straight to judgment or anticipate further adjournments?
Let me quickly break it down. Normally the procedure is, the prosecution will open their case, call their witnesses, and then after calling your witnesses, and then the prosecution will close their case. And if the defense feels that the case has not been established against them, they file a no case submission. If that no case submission is argued and overruled, then you are called upon to open your defense. If you still insist that you don't have a defense because you feel that there is no nexus linking the charge against you, what that means is you are closing your case resting your case on the case of the prosecutor, and so on the case of the prosecution. And so in that case, parties will file written address. And since you did not call any witness, you cannot rely on fact. Your written address will be based on law only, because you can't be arguing fact that you did not present before the court. So you argue your written address on the basis of law only, and the parties will exchange written address. But that of the prosecutor will be on fact and law, because they had presented witnesses. So in that case, the next thing that you will see procedurally, the court had taken time to advise him and to educate him. And if he insists and put it down that there is no charge against him, the court will have no other option but to insist that written address be filed by parties. And in this case, remember, the prosecuting counsel, Leonard Sik Awomola, had insisted that at the last time the court did rule that they were giving the defense 5 days to call their witnesses. But the court took cognizance of the peculiarity of his position on the ground that he had no legal representation. He has elected to represent himself. So And that's why the court had to backpedal a little bit to extend the time within which for him to defend himself. But if he still elects not to do that, then unfortunately, the parties will have to file written address. And then he will now have to bring an application subsequently if anything happens and he now wants to recall a witness. But I think it's not a good development for him, considering I don't want to go into the merit of his application or the law because the matter is the sub judice. But I think legally speaking, it is not a good development for him, having ruled that he has a case to answer.
Hello, my people. Nnamdi Kanu takes a risky turn. He says he has no case to answer in what appears to be a dramatic twist in the long-running trial of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. The case took a fresh and rather tense dimensional. Kanu, upon resumption of his defense before Justice James Omotosho, declared boldly that he has no case to answer and therefore will not be entering his defense. According to him, after perusing the case file, he came to the conclusion that there is no legal basis to continue defending himself against charges he believes are politically motivated and legally defective. Justice James Omotosho, however, directed him to file a written address. And for a context, in law, a written address is a formal document where a party presents their final argument or legal reasoning before the court, summarizing why judgment should be given in their favor. It's essentially a closing legal essay meant to convict the judge. But the judge didn't stop there. He advised Kanu to consult a criminal law expert on the consequences of this path he's actually taking, hinting that this no case to answer declaration could, carry a significant legal risk, especially since the court had previously ruled against such a submission. Now, let's lay down to the background. Let us recall earlier that the Court of Appeal in Abuja had acquitted and discharged Nnamdi Kanu, not because the court found him innocent of all allegations, but because of the illegality surrounding his arrest and extradition from Kenya. And that is what I call the question of jurisdiction and the illegalities surrounding his arrest. The appellate court held that his extraordinary rendition, that is being forcibly taken from Kenya without a due legal process, violated both international and Nigeria's own law. In simple terms, the court said you cannot kidnap a man from another country in violation of legal processes and then turn around to prosecute him legally in Nigeria. That act alone, the court ruled, stripped the Federal High Court of jurisdiction to even try Nnamdi Kanu in any sort. So, the big constitutional question remains, can a court built on illegality dispense justice? If due process was violated in bringing Kanu back, does any Nigerian court truly have the jurisdiction to try him? That is the crux of the current legal debate. Talking about the Kanu's current position, Kanu's position on Monday seems to be anchored on this same jurisdictional question. He appears to be saying, why should I defend myself in a trial that is illegal from the start? He's practically revisiting what his legal team might have actually overlooked, that jurisdiction should have been conclusively addressed before he was ever asked to enter a defense. However, legal observers, including Barrister Inibe Effiong, have raised alarm over the riskiness of this decision. Inibe Effiong said, and I quote, Nnamdi Kanu's legal strategy is confusing at this point. According to him, he said that the court had already overruled his no case submission. It is no longer open to him to claim to have no case to answer. He noted that Kanu has only two lawful options. First, to open his defense. Secondly, to rest his case on prosecution's evidence. By refusing to defend himself, Kanu is effectively saying that the prosecution has not proven its case beyond every reasonable doubt. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Legally, Kanu is under no obligation to prove his innocence. The burden of proof rests entirely on the prosecution. However, by refusing to present a defense, the prosecution's evidence remains unchallenged, except for what was revealed under cross-examination. So this is the postulation of Inibe Effiong on this regard. So while this decision does not amount to an admission of guilt, it leaves the fate of the case entirely in the hands of how the judge interprets the evidence already presented by the prosecution. Then, rewinding in the constitutional angle, under the section 36 of 1999 Nigerian Constitution, every accused person is entitled to a fair hearing by a competent court of law. Competence here depends on whether, first, the offense was committed within that court's territorial jurisdiction, and secondly, the process of arraignment and trial followed the process of law. In Kanu's case, Both conditions are heavily contested. The argument stands that since the alleged offenses, incitement, treasonable felony, and broadcasting were not shown to have been, committed within Nigeria's borders, and because Kanu was, forcibly abducted from another sovereign country in defiance of due process, then the Federal High Court may have lost its jurisdiction. In other words, how can a court that stands on the foundation of illegality dispense legitimate justice? That is the jurisprudential question haunting this case. Here are the risks. Talking about the risk and the implications. Make no mistake, this path Kanu is taking is actually risky legally. By refusing to open his defense, he may be legally cornered because the court might still proceed to judgment based on the prosecution's unrefuted evidence. However, the deeper game here may not be purely legal. It's becoming increasingly clear that the Kanu case has moved beyond the courtroom into the political theater. As you rightly put it, he may ultimately be convicted, not necessarily on the strength of evidence, but as a strategic move to pave a way for a political resolution. This is what we call clemency over justice, a political balancing act that seeks to calm agitation without addressing underlying issues of fairness and due process. In the end, agitation is being victimized, not resolved. Where does this case stand now? The matter has now been adjourned to November 4th, 5th, and 6th for the adoption of final written address, the legal equivalent of final argument from the both sides. The court will then review all the evidence on record, weigh whether the prosecution truly established any case, and finally determines Kanu's fate. Conclusively, at this stage, Nnamdi Kanu's journey is no longer just a criminal trial. It is a reflection of Nigeria's moral and political contradictions. A man who was unlawfully taken from a foreign country is being tried by a system that refuses to confront that illegality. The question is no longer is Kanu guilty, but rather is the system itself innocent. As November approaches, one thing is very clear: this verdict will not just define the fate of one man, but the credibility of Nigeria's justice system itself. Once again, this is about perspective, your domain for unfiltered news and raw political analysis. We give it to you the way the mainstream media cannot oblige to. Just like Nnamdi Kanu had busted in this video. Where are the media? Where are the news agencies? If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, leave your comments below, and of course, smash that subscribe button and turn on notification so you would always be the first to get our in-depth analysis and breaking trends. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay focused.